Welcome back to Practice Makeover. We're here in Raleigh, North Carolina, helping Matt Archer and Nina O'Neill add a robo platform to their practice. Last time, they met with Coach Ray Sclafani, and now they're going to sit down with Aaron Klein of Riskalyze to talk about how to put their practice on autopilot.
I'm really looking forward to this conversation with Aaron. Aaron owns Riskalyze, so we're hearing it directly from the source of this amazing software program. And I really look forward to what he has to say and finding out how other advisors are using this successfully.
I think the big question is how can we implement this, and what other advisors are doing to implement this, and how do we show this to clients, and what success stories are out there.
I hope that I'm going to learn a lot about exactly what their goals are and how they're trying to grow their business and what their future direction is with this firm. I'm hoping that I can help them understand how a digital advice platform can equip them for the next generation of growth in their business. Well, I'm super excited to have this meeting with both of you. I've already met with Ray, your coach, and we've discussed a bit about your firm and sort of what your strategy is and how you're developing that. And so excited to sort of get this discussion started around autopilot and how do you implement a robo. Most of the firms that we talk with have like a fairly high minimum. A lot of the firms that we talk with, their minimum level of assets that they'll bring aboard is like $500,000. Some of them are $250,000, some of them are $100,000. But my understanding from looking at your website and everything else is that your firm is a little bit different in that way.
Definitely different. And Nina loves to talk about this.
Well, I mean, when I started at a different firm years ago, it was, okay, if you don't have 250, we don't work with you, or whatever the number was. And I always would say, who gets them to the 250? Because you don't have assets that are of a whatever someone's considering the significant number, and it ranges from, like you said, the 100,000, a million, 5 million, whatever it is. I think that's more for that advisor's business model because they'd rather have fewer relationships and more assets. Yep. I understand that from an entrepreneur standpoint, but I think the reality is that then you're not serving the massive amount of people that are in the workforce in the next 10 to 20 years and that need that good advice. So who gets them from zero to whatever that silly minimum is? So we don't really think that the asset base is what you look at.
Ray spent a lot of time with you talking about sort of the communication strategy. How are we going to communicate this with clients? I think that's super important. I think that what we would be doing, what we're going to do for you with autopilot is we're going to build this foundation of scalability and driving down costs, right? So the idea of autopilot is not that you are outsourcing your portfolio management to a TAMP or something like that. A lot of advisors sit there and go, oh, I can't, that's part of my service, right? I can't just like let that out the door and outsource that to some TAMP. That's not the idea with autopilot. The idea with autopilot is the advisor retains control. So you're going to still have control over this platform for clients, but I like to think of it this way. When you log into whatever custodial platform you're using to trade your clients' portfolios today, it's like sitting down in the cockpit of an airplane and you have 80,000 switches. Okay? The 80,000 switches represent all the stocks and ETFs and mutual funds and the other investment choices that you have, right? What we're going to do with autopilot is we're going to shrink that cockpit's complexity down to 8 switches. There's 8 autopilot portfolios that span, the continuum of the risk number. Okay, and so you're going to have 8 different choices that you can move clients into. And so honestly, if something is going on in the markets and in that client's life and you would normally sell some stuff and sort of take them out of risk, you can do the same thing by logging into autopilot, moving the client into the conservative portfolio. It's the same level of discretion and control that you have today, but we're going to shrink from 80,000 switches in our cockpit to 8. My gut would be that your firm needs to get comfortable with the idea of having tiers of service. Now, I'm not saying they have to be really rigid tiers, okay? But I do think you need to think of your service model as a continuum ranging from online client to full service client, okay? And the idea is It can be roughly based on assets, but it can also be based somewhat on need. It can be based on, on what the client's, age and position is and what their needs are. But you need to think about like allowing that client to slide up and down that continuum of service based on what they need.
We've had this conversation back and forth on separating that service level or whatever, and frankly, we don't.
Sure.
What I've found, and I'm not saying we wouldn't, but what I've found, and I think you have too, is somewhat naturally that happens. Someone with a lot of more sophisticated planning needs, a lot of times has more financial assets. They've got more stuff. They've got more property, and a lot of times the people that don't, we don't end up having to service as much. So it's not been a need. It sort of naturally happened. Don't you? Am I wrong with that? There are exceptions.
And I think that's one of the fears that I have is that it comes down to the relationship. We focus on relationship over and over and over again. And when you take that away, and I think that's where I think this is kind of the unique piece where you bring in that new technology and you bring in this asset management to simplify it for the person that doesn't have a super sophisticated situation. You have this situation where you can still add personalized service.
Yes.
That's where I think that's where I'm excited about it, and I think that's where the opportunity is, where it allows us, like you had talked about, scale back. It costs a lot of money to run the business, and that's where I think the value add to this type of model and this type of technology is, and that's where I'm excited.
Let's say not to say that it's not hands-on service, but I think to go back to the service model thing is, we have always discussed there are people that have referred us other people because of this experience that they had that they would not have gotten anywhere else based on the actual money that they had to invest with us. And then they refer us people, and then they refer us people. So that's how our business has grown, and it's been just doing the right things for the right reasons for the people that we serve. And we don't want to dilute that. We don't want to take that away, but we do. We're actually saying yes to the same thing that you're recommending. It's just we're so cautious to say, do we tier our service model? I think it naturally happens in our office, but like you said, it's not a rigid thing.
I'd encourage you to think about the fact that I think that the experience that your clients love is not how they handle time-consuming manual pieces that are very mechanical. It's the advice that you're giving them, it's the behavioral coaching that you're giving them, it's the financial planning help that you're giving them. Those are the pieces of the experience that are uniquely Matt and Nina, right? And that's what you want to deliver, whether you've got a $5,000 account that's going to grow or whether you've got a $2 million client. And I think that the idea here is that, yes, we're going to take the investment management, simplify it, drive down your costs. That's going to free up time and resources for you to focus on the part of the relationship where you actually add value, right? And so I think that can make a ton of sense. From one of the other big sort of best practices and messages that we try and deliver to advisors is what you don't want to do is you don't want to create silos. So we don't want to stick autopilot over here and say, well, this is our little silo for our online clients, right? That's what creates that massive difference in client experience.
And that was my question,
right?
That was
so we don't want the silo.
That's my concern,
right?
How does that work, and does the current client that we have, how do they feel about that?
Sure.
That's the big concern.
We architected autopilot. Here's my guess is what's going to happen, and I'm just going to make a prediction. I think you're probably going to start, putting some clients and some assets onto autopilot. You're going to quickly see that driving down the complexity and driving down the cost is a really powerful thing, and you're not giving up control, and the client experience is still the same. So this is a very powerful way to really make the business more scalable, right? Then what you'll see is you'll be going, well, why do I only want to save money on clients of this size? Why wouldn't I want to also save money and make the business more scalable with clients of all sizes? And frankly, they get access to the more advanced technology platform as well, right? So rather than creating this online silo, which sort of changes the client experience, you can just gradually, move which clients onto autopilot portfolios that you want.
So there's a lot of flexibility with all of it.
Absolutely.
Makes sense.
Yeah, absolutely.
Well, I think we got a pretty good game plan. Excited to get rolling with you.
Yeah, absolutely. We're
right.
definitely
We are
excited
too.
about it.
That was a great meeting. Nina and Matt are just amazing advisors who have a real vision for delivering service to clients, large and small, helping clients get to where they want to be with their financial lives. I think they're going to do amazingly well with the Autopilot platform, and it's really going to help their business scale and grow.
So it's awesome meeting Aaron. He's definitely a visionary in our field. He's providing exactly what Matt and I really have wanted for a long time. It's just more implementation. So how do we implement it to our practice where it works? Because I think we were a little bit on a different page in the beginning, and kind of sharing with him, maybe he understood better that neither of us want silos. We don't necessarily want to segment our client service either. So we're trying to make sure this fits for our business model, provides the customer service experience, and then utilizes the technology just the way he intended for it to when he started it.
A couple things I took away was the ability to scale and scale faster and still provide quality service with that new technology. And then looking at reducing costs associated with doing paperwork, asset management, trading, and all those things. Those things all take time and cost money. And with this type of opportunity, I think that it really helps our business and allows us to scale.
Well, Aaron said it. Matt and Nina have built an atypical practice, and they want to use a robo platform for all the right reasons. Next time, we'll find out how much of Aaron's plan they plan to use and how much they plan to ignore.